What's up, Canuck fans? Welcome to the Line Change Podcast, a proud member of the Hockey Podcast Network. And in today's video, we're going to be starting a new series titled The Search for a Second Line Center. And our first episode in this series is going to be about the Winnipeg Jets' Brad Lambert and whether or not the Canucks should or shouldn't trade for him. First, let's find out just who Brad Lambert is. So we're going to take a look at this real quick. Sorry. There we go. This is the proper one. There we go. Brad Lambert is a 21-year-old former first-round pick who has played just 10 NHL games to this point. Now the word is that he's seeking a trade out of Winnipeg and has been given permission for his agent to start looking around for a preferred destination. So, Brad Lambert, 21-year-old center, former first-round pick. That is who Brad Lambert is. Does that sound appealing to Canuck fans? Possibly. I mean, the age sounds about right, as of course we've recently heard that the Canucks is, their plan is to get younger. They want 25, to be the, minimum, or they want 25 and under, essentially, or maybe even 26 and under, but they're looking for around that age range. That apparently is their plan and their focus right now. But now that we're familiar with who Brad Lambert is, and of course, Brad Lambert has, I believe it is 1 point in those 10 NHL games, if I'm not mistaken. But now that begs the question, should the Canucks trade for him? Let's take a look at an excerpt from an article that talks about Brad Lambert himself and just the idea of his, wanting a trade out of Winnipeg. Goes on to say the trade request then makes plenty of sense. This guy just wants to play. And that seems to be the case for Lambert, and the reason why he's wanting a trade out of Winnipeg. They're just not playing him, and he wants to play. It also makes sense why plenty of other teams, potentially including the Canucks, might be interested in accommodating that request. Lambert remains an intriguing package of size and skill. In fact, the best overall description of Lambert and his story is probably intriguing. You don't typically get a lot of prospects out of Finland named Brad, but Lambert is the son of former AHLer Ross Lambert, who moved overseas following the end of his North American career. Lambert is also the nephew of longtime NHLer and current Seattle Kraken head coach Lane Lambert. Lambert played the majority of his developmental hockey in Finland leading up to the 2022 NHL entry draft. For a couple of years prior, he was talked about as a potential top pick, but by the time draft day arrived, Lambert slipped all the way down to 30th overall due to a number of perceived shortcomings both on and off the ice. So now that we've read that, should the Canucks go out and get him? Let's take a look at some of the pros when it comes to picking up Brad Lambert here real quick. So pros for acquiring Brad Lambert in a trade. He's a center. He's young. So there's two pros right there. He's 21 years old, so he's very young, and he's a center, someone who we desperately need. Now, let's take a look at the cons. Might cost too much. Likely a second-round pick. Canucks aren't exactly flush with assets right now, so that's another thing as well, would contribute to a con and possibly not going out and getting him. But let's take a look at the rest of this article that actually talks about that in particular and whether or not what it might cost. So what might he cost? He can probably drop the price down to somewhere south of a first-round pick. Lambert himself was drafted at the tail end of the first round in 2022, and he hasn't exactly added to his value since then, aside from the standout AHL rookie campaign. Winnipeg can ask for a first all they want, but any first-round pick is probably better spent on a new incoming prospect than one already on his way to washing out. but we're not sure how much further that price will drop from there. It seems all but certain that Winnipeg will attempt to cash Lambert out for at least a second rounder or an equivalent prospect. There is such a gap in both real and perceived value between a second and third that can be illustrated here. To trade a former first-round pick for a second, that's probably acceptable. Given the circumstances for a third, that's suddenly grounds for disappointment. Given Lambert's draft profile, his size, and especially that puck-carrying ability, we suspect at least one of the other 31 NHL teams will meet that price. Now, whether or not that should be the Vancouver Canucks is up for debate. Now let's quickly but it looks like that the Vancouver Canucks are not exactly the right type, as we mentioned in the cons. They're not exactly flush with assets, and at the same time, do you really want to give up a second-round pick for a guy who was drafted 30th overall in the first round? I don't know if I would. But that being said, let me do my sponsor read, and then we will close out this episode of Searching for a Second Line Center. The Line Change Podcast is a presentation brought to you by DraftKings. Spinorama's Michigan goals, a wicked sprawling save across the crease, or even a jaw-dropping glove save. Live and breathe all the highlight moments with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets, and your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Pass-through of per wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. This is a limited time offer. Now, my final opinion on Brad Lambert, I'm not really convinced that trading for Brad Lambert really moves the needle for me. So I guess we're continuing our search for our second line center. Thanks, guys, for watching, and be on the lookout for the next episode of our search for our second line center. And of course, as always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. You guys can find us on social media. They are listed right there. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And join the discussion on our Discord. It's completely free to join. There's a link in the description down below. And also, this is a podcast is also a proud presentation of Gassy Jack Art, maker of this incredible artwork you see behind me. And you guys can check them out yourselves at gassjackart.com. Moving forward, you can also find us on your preferred podcast platform. We're available to listen on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can feel free to give us a follow on Spotify, as well as rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. But that's going to do it for us. As always, let's go Canucks, and I'll catch you guys next time.